Good afternoon. This is Dr. Esther HYATT of the Wisdom Table. I'm here with Doug Frazier, Brother Anthony Charles, and I'm glad to have this opportunity. We have the Wisdom Table. We have the opportunity of introducing to our audience Brother Anthony Charles. I'd like to describe him as an invisible giant. He's known by many, but he is not always seen at center stage. Brother Anthony, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. HYATT. It's a great pleasure to be here. I appreciate the work that you've been doing over the years, you and Brother LEROY, and some of the other folks that I've had the great privilege of meeting.
Okay. Let me share with our audience. Anthony Charles is an activist, a community activist, and at times a global activist. He has been a person known to many of us in the community for many, many years. And I'm talking about the New York, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island community. He is a U.S. Army veteran, and
yes.
During that period of time, he was a chaplain's assistant. Want to share a little more about your background and various places?
Yes, Dr. HYATT, and once again, it's an honor to be here because we have to use all the available tools in order to get the information out to our people. I was born in Trinidad, in the Caribbean. You hear about Trinidad and Tobago, the island of the hummingbird, the only place on earth that God blessed us with a pitch lake. And I had the honor of being the last child of my parents, Fitzroy and Vera Charles. And, I was raised in a family that was very politically active and conscious. My godfather, who was an elected official, he was the brother of CLR James. So, that was the kind of environment that I was raised in, very political. Mm-hmm. I came to America when I was 18 years old. I came here to study. I was the first one. All of my other family members, they all went to England to do their studies. But before I came to America, I was very active in my secondary school. I was a student leader. I was also a member of the U.S. Public Library that was in the same building as the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad. So I was always very interested in America and people of African ancestry. And my father, God rest his soul, he was the first one who, he told me certain things about, who the white man is and, different things like that. I would encourage a lot of my fellow students and people in my class to leave school, and we would go and demonstrate because this was prior to the first revolution that we had in Trinidad. So we always marched under the red, black, and green flag. And when I came to America, August 15th, 1971, and I tell people that when I got off the plane that Sunday afternoon, I could sit in the front of the bus. I could drink out of the water fountain of my choice, and I can use the same toilets that white folks used. if I were to come to your home for Kwanzaa, Thanksgiving, whatever events you celebrate, and I see all the food on the table, the collard greens, the peas and rice, the turkey, everything else, the cornbread. Someone took the heat in the kitchen in order to have all of that stuff laid out on the table. African Americans took the heat for all of us coming from the diaspora here to America. And it is very important that we remember the sacrifices that were made for us, because freedom isn't free. And for Negroes who want to walk around and think, well, I did it on my own and all of this kind of nonsense, we have to remember all of those folks on whose shoulders we stand, whether it's Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Fannie Lou Hamer, all of them, Baba Dick Gregory, all of them. We are standing on their shoulders, and I was grateful to be here in this country, and I appreciate the hard work that was put in order for me to achieve the success that I have had over the years.
Okay. Brother Anthony,
yes,
why don't
ma'am.
you share with us, your studies in this country? I realize that your major was in communication.
Yes, it was.
Right. And you have
yes.
the opportunity to work at Medgar
yes.
Evers College. Share that
yes.
with us.
Yeah. Well, I came here first to study. I always liked art. And I came here and I was studying art. And after falling in love with this place and, understanding who I am as a person of African ancestry here in America, it made me want to stay. I said, there's no way, because I was on a student visa, I said, there's no way that I'm going to be going back to Trinidad. I don't want to go back. I'm here in America. I want to stay here. And I decided to one day go to the recruiting station because the Vietnam War was going on at the time. And I volunteered. And I dropped out, and I was inducted into the military. And this was November 6th, 1972. And I had my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And in Trinidad, we lived a comfortable life. Yes, there were white people there. We had a lot of Indians there. And the Indians were brought to Trinidad after slavery ended. They came as indentured workers. But I never knew what a porch monkey was. I was never called a nigger before. I was never called a jungle bunny or spear chucker and a lot of these other pejorative terms until I went into the military. And I didn't know much about the history of how racist South Carolina was at the time. However, during that experience, I had some good people around me because there were a lot of things that I had the opportunity to learn. And prior to that, I must say that my godfather's brother, where I lived when I first came to America, he was a conscious black man. On a Saturday, we had to look at Positively Black with Bill McQuarrie. On Sunday, it was Like It Is with Gil Noble. And then we'd look at Gus Henningberg. I remember Melba Tolliver, who was on ABC Network at the time, and she had a lot of problems with that network because she wanted to wear her hair in an afro and natural, and she ended up being kicked out of her job. So a lot of these things help me understand and sort of prepare me for the military, but it's the nasty names that blacks were called at that time in the military, and that was very painful to have to deal with.
Okay. Medgar Evers, you had an opportunity to have a professor there that was really turned you around in many ways.
Well, you know, when I entered the military, at that time, you were guaranteed citizenship once you got to your permanent duty station. And I ended up, as my permanent duty station was Fort Jackson, Fort Hood in Texas, which is one of the largest military installations in the country. And, of course, that was a whole nother big deal when you get down there because, you know, the racism was just as thick there as it was around Fort Jackson. And while I was in the military, you had the opportunity to, you could register for school. So I started taking classes at Central Texas College, and there's where I started my journalism process. And after acquiring my citizenship while I was on active duty, after serving my mandatory 2-year commitment, I came back to New York, and I had to do the rest of my 6-year commitment in the Army Reserves. And I registered for Medgar Evers College, and there I met this wonderful sister, Dr. Mary Hayden Umulu. She's the one who was one of the founders of the Tribute to the Ancestors that's held at the beach in Coney Island every the first weekend in June. And Dr. Mary Hayden Umulu was a brilliant woman, and she's the one who guided so many of us because in the class, of course, was there were a lot of brothers from the Caribbean, brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, and there were others from Nigeria and Ghana. And it was a pleasure interacting with all of these brothers. Dr. Mary Hayden Umulu, she and I became very close, and we had the radio station, Medgar Evers College Radio Station, and she made me the manager of the radio station. And I also produced and wrote a lot of things that were played on the radio station. So I was taking a full load at the time. I was doing 17 credits, so I didn't used to leave the campus until after 10 at night because the radio station used to close. We would shut it down at 10 o'clock. And, you know, so she was one of my great teachers. And, of course, Dr. Betty Shabazz, she was also teaching there at the time, too. So, you know, it was a pleasure knowing her as well.
Okay. Let's get on with some of your activities that I'm familiar with. I want to share with my audience that Mr. Charles has introduced a novel way of sharing history, information about our community, our country, and that's through T-shirts.
Yes.
I like to think of him as doing some of his activism wearing a T-shirt. Could you share that with us, Anthony?
Yes, yes. You see, again, as I said, freedom isn't free. And the great Reverend Congressman Adam Clayton Powell taught us, he always used to say, "What's in your hand?" And so many of us, we're trying to figure out, well, what can I do? What is about this? What can I do to help make changes in this country? And each and every one of us, we have a responsibility. So what I started doing was I would, different things that I would hear, different things I would read from, a lot of the folks whose shoulders I stand on. I said, I was always the kind of a person, I was never into designer stuff. Because the way I look at designer stuff is I should be able to go into the store and I should be able to pick out whatever I want, and they should give it to me for free because I'm advertising your stuff. Why should I be walking around with like a billboard paying you to advertise your product? And most of you all don't even want us wearing your stuff anyway.
CR.
You see? So I started I dress culturally. I stopped wearing suits and ties and all of this stuff. And I decided that I would dress culturally. But when this whole T-shirt thing, I started doing the whole T-shirt thing. I found this brother who lived close to me, and he started, I would tell him what I want, and he would make the T-shirts for me. So I started putting the information on the front, and then I decided that I would also like to put the same information on the back of those T-shirts. And I must tell you, it is an effective way of getting your message out because people coming toward you, they can read some of it. People who are behind you, they can also read it. And I started using different folks. But some of the ones that I can share with you is from, I'll start with Dr. Frances Cresswell Singh, who she was the foremost authority on racism, white supremacy. And she taught at Howard University, a great woman. And some of the things that she taught us was racism, white supremacy is a global system. And we have to understand what that is all about. It is a global system. She also told us, she said, another thing she told us, she says, the word America, when you unscramble America, what does it say? I am race. And we have to use every available space to let our people know, to let there be a conversation. Whenever someone sees my T-shirt, people would stop me and they would say, oh, can I take a picture of that T-shirt? Where did you get that T-shirt? And the brother who makes the T-shirts for me, I would have a set of his business cards, and I would say, here, give him a call. So I'm informing them, giving them information, and at the same time, I am promoting his business. Dr. Welsing said, the common language of racism, white supremacy is lying. And a lot of people, when they read that T-shirt, some people might be a bit flabbergasted, but of course, the common language of racism, white supremacy is lying. There are two things we have to think about when you see that T-shirt. Number one, First of all, they are not supreme. That's the first lie. And then the other thing about it is when you confront them, they're going to say, well, I'm not racist. It is not up to you. I've seen your behavior, and I know who you are. You know, it's not up to you to convince me that you're not racist. Then Dr. Welsing said, the common language. Yeah, she said that's why she said the common language of racism, white supremacy is lying. Another thing she said, dear God, let me get over my fear of the people who classify themselves as white. And she was so true there, because why is it that we always have to be afraid of this pigmentation that we are in? Then she went on to say further, racism, white supremacy, is a mental disorder. And it is so true, because you don't know me, I don't know you, but from the time you see me in this skin, you arrive at certain notions. He's got to be a criminal. No, you don't think I'm college educated. You don't think I have a degree. You don't think I have any of those things. But the first thing you see when you look at me is a criminal. And this is why they can go out and they can formulate their little gangs, and they can lynch our people and treat us the way that they do. Dr. Welsing also said gentrification is apartheid. Our thinking determines our words determine our actions. And that is so true. You know, we are looking at all of the stuff that's going on in our community now when it comes to gentrification. And it's really black removal as well. You are seeing all these storage buildings being put up in our communities. And those storage buildings have more than one purpose. The King Alfred plan talks about the conversion of those storage units to be made into detention centers for when there's an uprising, they're going to be used to incarcerate our people. One of the great things Dr. Welsing also said was black self-respect is more powerful than a nuclear weapon. Okay. Think about that for a moment. More powerful than a nuclear weapon. Can you imagine if we were to put aside our differences and harness that energy of that black power? Do you know the things that we'd be able to do? Integration was the worst thing that ever happened to black folk. It was the worst thing. When you look at the television now, everything you see, when you look at these commercials, you look at some of these other shows, and you're seeing all of this interracial stuff that's going on. Dr. Rosie Mulligan said, she did the study. She says when a black man or any black person chooses a white person, it's a mental disorder, and it's called the Othello syndrome. And a lot of us don't understand that, because if you have a black grandmother and a black mother and all of that, you ain't got no business looking at no white person.
Listen to me a second. If you would go over that, what Mulligan said, I would appreciate it. And what was that syndrome that she postulated?
It's called the Othello syndrome.
Othello, okay.
Yeah. It's called the Othello syndrome. Well, the research that Dr. Mulligan did was she broke down the behavior of, young black men and the choices that they make. What would encourage them to say that they will choose a white woman, or a black woman would choose a white man over her brother or he would choose a white woman over his sister. And she broke it down and said that there is a dysfunctionality either from the way how the person was raised or experiences that they might have, where they might have had problems in a relationship with someone who looked like them, and they figure, well, I'm going to punish all the others, and I will never touch one of them, and it makes them sort of crazy, you know. But it's an interesting study that she did.
Mm-hmm. I noticed, Brother Anthony, that you mentioned, of course, this recent mentioning of Dr. Mulligan and also Dr. Welsing. What are some of the things that you've had written on the back of your T-shirts that came from your experiences?
Well, I know that there's one where there's this one is from an old African proverb that I had heard a long time ago, and it said, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And the village that I came out from in Trinidad, when whatever street you traveled on in your community, everyone knew who you belonged to. They knew who your parents were. And they all took responsibility for all the children. If you were you went to play at one of the neighbors, or the neighbors' children came to play with you, and it was lunchtime or it was dinner time, they didn't send the child home. No, everybody, they shared. They ate together. The neighbor was able to discipline. You could discipline any child, whether you knew them or whether you didn't know them. You know, some people, they saw a child doing something wrong, they would follow that child home and lodge a complaint with the parents, so that, you know, it was hands-on for everybody. And it was a real beautiful thing. It was everybody loving everyone else. When it was time for you to, you know, to go to the beach, it's the whole neighborhood going to the beach. They prepare all the food. This one's bringing the drinks and so on. When someone was going away, it was the whole community that would go to the airport for the send-off. You know, so it was that kind of hands-on thing where you felt that love, you know, where people cared for you, where they nurtured you, where, you know, now you look at some of the young people who are on the buses or they're on the subway, and the profanity. You know, if you wanted to say damn when I was growing up, you had to look around because you didn't want any adult to hear you because you'd be in trouble. You know, so it was about that respect, you know, that black self-respect.
When I can recall someone mentioning one of your T-shirts, and it had to do with you being a soldier or a veteran.
Yes, yes.
The U.S. Army. Could you describe that shirt?
Well, you know, I stayed in the military for 16 years, and I'm proud to be a citizen of the United States of America. I'm very, very proud. But it's the people who run this country that I have a problem with, because, you know, you look at the way how we are treated. You know, I'm a decorated veteran, and when this guy who is in the White House, I usually call him the Olympic liar because that's what he does. He is an Olympic liar. And when he made the statement that Haiti and Africa are shithole countries, I immediately called my buddy up and I told him I need to have this T-shirt done. Decorated U.S. Army veteran from a shithole country. But, you know, you were saying Africa, I'm African. You know, and as I tell people all the time, you know, you have a lot of folk from Trinidad, from the Caribbean and so on. Oh, no, I'm Trini, I'm Jamaican, I'm Bajan and all of that. No, you're African. The slave ship just made different stops. And we need to put all of that foolishness aside because that's what the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said 100 years ago. We celebrated his anniversary of coming to America. When the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey came here 100 years ago, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said he had never seen so many black people before. He said, "Up, you mighty race, Africa for Africans, whether at home or abroad." And we got to put all of those differences aside. And that's why I did this T-shirt that Dr. Joy DeGruy said, post-traumatic slave syndrome is real. We are still going through that stuff. We are still facing a lot of the stuff. It's in our genes. And this is why it's important for us to study our story, not his story, our story.
I
so
would
that
like to.
we can help heal ourselves.
I so agree with that, brother. I would like to know if any of our members, like Brother Leroy, would you like to ask a couple of questions?
Yes, definitely. And thank you for setting up this interview with Brother Anthony. I'm going back to your military service and the fact that you indicated that the trials and tribulations of Blacks like Melba, Tolliver, and the messages received from others prepared you for the military. Talk about what you saw happening with other brothers who were not as prepared as you.
Well, you know, and thanks for that question. You know, a lot of them faced a lot of problems because you got the discrimination from the drill sergeants, you got it from the company commanders, you got it from even your fellow soldiers, because at that time, some of these people who came from the Deep South, they had never really had any kind of interaction with black people. You have to remember, we have to eat together, we have to sleep together, we have to shower together, you know, and when you go to the mess hall, all the blacks are sitting in one area, all the whites are sitting in one area, and you would have the Latinos. Sometimes you might see a Latino with the blacks, or you would see a black with the Latino, because you have to remember some of the Latinos didn't identify themselves as persons of color. You understand? And one of the things that I will never forget, I had a top secret clearance in the military, and I had the privilege I had the privilege of reading a letter, and this letter came from Department of the Army in Washington, D.C., and it said, because of the large percentage of blacks in the Army, it is a threat to the national security of the United States. I saw this letter in 1974. And when you have to remember, as we go through life, none of us were born conscious. We are putting this puzzle together, and we are connecting the dots. You know, because my dad taught me, he says, let me tell you something. A leopard loses his fur, but never his spots. And one of the things that integration has done to us is we always hope that folk are going to change. They're not going to change. They are not going to change. And there's a T-shirt that I also had done up, and it was some words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he said in one of his lectures, the best of us will come by the word, the rest by a whipping. And that's so true. So he also did a lecture on dumb devils, wise Satan. Now, when I wear the decorated U.S. Army veteran from a shithole country, everybody want to take pictures of that T-shirt. They don't want to take pictures of dumb devils, wise Satan.
Do you have a integrated clientele when people from other races view your T-shirts?
Oh, yes,
and what's been the reaction?
Yeah, especially with the Black Lives Matter demonstrations that I've been participating in. I would go out there daily, and what I do is whenever I travel, whether I'm going to Europe or I'm going down to the Caribbean or I'm going up to Canada, whenever I go out, I would carry 4 or 5 T-shirts in my bag, and I would switch, you know, I would take one off, put another one on, you know, and because it's, you know, we have to be able to, when I wear these T-shirts, I'm looking for eyes, you know. You have people who would, you know, you're looking, because you're teaching all the time. You know, one of the ones that gets a lot of attention is the large black prison population in America are the slave ships on land.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
There's another one that gets black folk love this one. Because black is beautiful, jealousy is a sickness. Get well soon. Okay. Now, since with the elections and so on, I have one in particular that I had made up. Voter suppression is alive in America. The right to vote was paid for in blood. Remember Fannie Lou Hamer and Medgar Evers. Okay. Now, as it's election time, this one is also appropriate. Republicans equal wolves, Democrats equal foxes, but they both belong to the dog family. And one of the other ones that I get a lot of chuckles about is America had 45 presidents. 43 were white, 1 black, 1 orange. They love that one too, you know. And the America, the hate you give. And I says, what is the hate America gives? You know, because you hear them talking about thug. And the hate America gave us: slavery, Jim Crow, lynching, racism, white supremacy, integration, police murders, miseducation. Because our people, yes, you can go to college, you can get all the degrees you want, but those degrees mean nothing if you don't use those degrees to help liberate your people. You have to use the information in order to help liberate your people. And that's why I say to Africans, you saved America since you got off the slave ships. Evil empires must fall. Step aside. Let God do his work.
Okay.
Now,
you know,
a lot of people don't know. You know, every time they hear stuff about Dr. King, they always play the softy kind of part. You know, I have a dream and all of that. But this is something that Dr. Martin Luther King said. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent. And that is so true. We can't be silent. We have to speak out. And you can't be afraid to speak out. And that's why members of my family, my in-laws and so on, my sister, they're members of the Nation of Islam. And I must say that we learned a lot from when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him, was alive. And we love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because he has done so much to bring about the liberation of our people. And it's sad to say that other people who are spewing a lot of hate and negativity about people of African ancestry, they're allowed to stay on social media, but they're going to take Minister Farrakhan off social media. But you know something? We are his disciples, and that's why we are out there doing his work.
Okay. You anticipated me. Go ahead.
Yes, my brother.
Anthony, these T-shirts that you have, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and those T-shirts have led to some very interesting conversations and dialogues. Share with us the ones that come immediately to mind.
Okay. One of them that I had made up was the only free cheese is in a mousetrap. So, you know, people would ask me, well, what do you mean by that? The only free Africans, the only free cheese is in a mousetrap. Well, you know, a lot of times we've been taught, well, you know, the government is giving this away free, they're giving that away free, they're giving away free cell phones and all of that. And this young lady, I was downtown Brooklyn, and, you know, I had my T-shirt on, and they were giving away the government phones, and she called me over, Mister, come sign up, get a phone. So at first I didn't pay her any attention. Then I said, you know something, let me go back. I said, so what's up with these free phones? Yeah, all you have to do is sign up and, you know, you get the free phones. I says, well, you know something? I says, let me tell you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us.
Thank you, brother.
He says, when the white man gives you something for nothing, bend over and let him kick you in the ass. But you know, but you see, a lot of times we feel that when they give us, especially that phone, we feel, oh yeah, we get all these minutes and all of that, and we can talk. What our people don't know is that they're listening. They're listening. They're listening to everything that we are saying. So this is why we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. You know, we must be very careful.
Okay.
Brother
Before
Anthony,
we go on,
that reminds me I'm sorry, Brother Anthony, that reminds me of a story out of Baltimore several years ago. This is before cell phones really caught on, but they existed, but they didn't
Yeah,
exist with everybody in the neighborhood. And the authorities gave um, the head of the local drug distribution gave him phones, and he thought it
yeah,
was the greatest thing in the world.
yeah,
And it was the greatest thing in the world that incarcerated him and his people.
yeah,
But this is way before you found T-Mobile and Verizon and the others on every other block.
yeah,
This is a true story out of Baltimore.
yeah. Well, there's something else that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said. He said America is the greatest purveyor of violence in the world. They are the greatest purveyor of violence in the world because we have the most information in this country, but we are the least informed. Americans are ignorant. When you travel overseas and you hear how negatively they speak about people in America, we have to bring wherever we go that consciousness to other folks, and some of them might like to hear it, but I would tell them it is African Americans that's going to free black people all over the world. And I'm not saying that to belittle them or anything like that, but we know these folks better than anybody else. That's why it's called the belly of the beast. We understand them better than anybody else. You see? Our people have had to put up with this stuff. You hear folk talking about the enslavement of people of African ancestry. In the Caribbean, in Africa and other places, it was warm. It was cold here, and black folk had to work from can't see to can't see. Reverend C.T. Vivian said, "What have we done to America that they hate us so?" That's what Reverend C.T. Vivian said. Okay. Reverend James Lawson said, "America is the most violent culture in humankind." The most violent. And it's the truth. It's the truth. What are you doing with over 700 military bases all around the world? Okay? Our defense budget is more than Britain, China, Russia, France, Germany combined. Use some of that money to give people better health care. And that's what they're supposed to do. Help the people out here. Don't neglect your people. Look at the amount of money that other countries get compared to Africa. And they're going up in there and stealing everything that they can put their hands on.
So true. Wow. Is our brother Doug still there? He probably went off for a moment. Okay. I know you have worked in various community groups in the U.S., such as the Imani Group, Network for Children and Families. One day at another time, maybe you can discuss your loyalty to such a group.
Yes.
And also the Wellsing Institute in Washington, D.C., where, you're well known for, a lot of the things that you do and what you share with them even. That's it's an institute which looks at social psychiatry and behavior, concentrating some of our discussions and many of our discussions on our people. So that is part of what we do here at the Wellsing,
the GHCR,
the Wisdom
Grant
Institute.
Houses Community Radio, the soul
Yeah.
of the Upper West Side.
Okay. I would like to, shall we go on for a moment or two?
Yes.
Okay. I know our time is limited, but I would like you to discuss some of your activities. You say you have family in many countries,
Yes.
besides
Yes.
here in the U.S. and the Caribbean.
Well, one of the, I go to England every year, and I wasn't able to go this year because of the lockdown. But wherever I go, I give out handouts, I give out tapes, I make lectures of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen, Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Amos Wilson, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because people would say, can I pay you for this? I says, no, you don't have to pay me for it. All you have to do is you look at it, because it's about broadening your area of communication. You see, because one of the things that we have to understand, none of us were born conscious. None of us were born conscious. And this is why James Baldwin had said to be black unconscious and living in these United States of America is to be in a state of anger. But you have to use that consciousness. You have to use that anger, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. Because the thing about it is, their worst nightmare is us waking up our people. Is us waking up our people. And when you go to England, some of the toughest nuts to crack is over there. Okay, I have Nigerians in my family over there, other from Zimbabwe, other Africans that are family members. I don't have too much of a problem with them, but, it's like a lot of the ones from the Caribbean and stuff like that, and I don't know if it's the miseducation and all of that, but, you can't wear these T-shirts over here. We don't want no trouble and all of this kind of stuff. No. What did Congressman John Lewis say? Good trouble, necessary trouble. None of us are getting out of here alive. Okay? And what did H. Rap Brown said? He says, slaves don't die of natural causes. Some people want to, you have to go out fighting because that's who we are. What are we going to hand to the next generation? They're looking at us. They're looking at us.
So true.
And we can't be walking around as though we have no backbone and stuff. We are the original people of the planet. Nobody came before us. Nobody came before us. And we have to be running around there always being apologetic and all of this kind of stuff. To whom? For what? All we have to do is put our differences aside and throw out that whole Willie Lynch mentality. I mean, really. We're in serious times now. And one of the T-shirts that I said, Africans, you overcame slavery. After COVID-19, you must be laser focused on the pandemic of racism and white supremacy.
Damn.
They never apologized to us for slavery. They apologized to everybody else for the stuff that they went through. And even though they apologized, look at right now, they're discussing with the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, who is based in Barbados. Britain is discussing reparations for the Caribbean islands. And the dollar figure that Britain is offering the Caribbean islands for for the enslavement of our ancestors is $12 trillion. $12 trillion, even though that's just a drop in the bucket. You know, by the time they divvy that up for all the damage that they did to all the generations of our people. You have Negroes walking around who don't even know who they are. Look at the black hair care products. Madam C.J. Walker was the first black female millionaire in this country from hair care products. We don't even control the black hair care products. And you see these young black women who don't even know who they are, and they're running in and getting these people rich, buying all this expensive hair and all of that. Wear your hair natural. Be proud of who you are.
So true. So true. Well, Brother Leroy?
Well, I tell you, every answer that you've given, Brother Anthony, have been full of, let me get a T-shirt, let me start doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And based on your broad experience, media, your time in the military, your time going into different countries and whatnot, what are some of the, let's say what are 3 actionable things that the audience can do, including us, that perpetuates the thrust of awakening our people, bringing knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to them?
I would say the 3 things that is important to do. You have to choose your words carefully. If you carry yourself in a respectful and dignified manner, people would look at you as such, and you'll be able to spread the word. If you have family members, friends, children, books, you can give them, a nice gift and all of that, but give them a book. Let them know about our story. There, Malcolm said, if you want to hide information, if you want to hide money, you can put it in a book because we don't read. So it's about black self-respect. It's about the young people. Make sure you give them a book. When you go to somebody's house, if you see they don't have a library, you know everything ain't right in there. You got to have a library. And the third thing that I must say, we have to respect our black women. We have to uplift them. We have to, because when you respect each other people are going to be forced to respect you. We have to show respect to our females. And all of these folk who are out there making millions and billions of dollars off of calling black women all of these nasty names and think, come on. Do you have to stoop that low in order to put a few dollars or to wear some diamonds around your neck? And we don't even control the diamond industry in the world. Africa produces over 65% of all the diamonds. We don't have not one black diamond merchant, not one. So we have to respect black women. We have to carry ourselves in a dignified fashion. It's about integrity. When you look at somebody like the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, you look at brothers in the Nation of Islam and look at the way how they carry themselves. You can see them and you say, oh, that brother is from the nation. When you've been in the military and certain things that you have learned, and look at the way how brothers who were in the military, look at the way how they carry themselves. you know. And these are some of the things that we have to do. There are a lot of others, but I would start there. It's about the children, the way we treat black women, and it's about black self-respect.
Beautiful.
So important. Excellent. So important. I hope to have you come back again to the wisdom session.
My sister.
And I think it merits coming. I hope you can come back soon.
Oh, most definitely. It would be my pleasure. Yes, ma'am.
Brother Leroy, could you sign us off? I don't want to.
I feel that. I feel that one of the areas that you can cover with us, Brother Anthony, is as a book reviewer. Let's say the 5 to 10 important books that Black people should be reading, male, female, children, and you know, because that would stimulate a lot of us to have that library in our homes that we don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful, brother. Thank you for your energy, man.
Thank you. You know, thank you. Well, one of the books that The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams.
Right.
They can do that. They can do the ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, which is like a Bible to me. You know, Begin Again, James Baldwin's America and Its Urgent Lessons from Our Own. That's by Professor Dr. Eddie Glaude. I know he teaches at Rutgers University in New Jersey. There's another book that they can read, and that is What They Never Told You in History Class. And another one that's out there now is How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. And I'll give you this final one, and it's My Vanishing Country by Bakari Sellers. Bakari Sellers, he used to be he was a legislator, and he now does commentary on CNN. Great young brother who's done a lot of stuff. And of course, Dr. Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped Africa.
Right.
You know, but there's a lot of stuff, you know, and for you know, with the way how our justice system is now, there's one book that I think that everybody, this one goes all the way back, and this one is by Judge Bruce Wright, Black Robes, White Justice. Okay, he took a lot of heat when he did that book, so that's a good book to look for.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Hey. So you want to sign us off, Brother Leroy?
Well, this has been a very welcome addition of the Wisdom Table to the Wisdom Table by our co-host, and that is Dr. Esther HYATT. I want to thank you for inviting our brother Anthony to the mics, to the independent radio of Grand Houses, and nothing that he has said on this program or that we've said reflects anything on the resident council, nor does the views expressed here reflect anything on the NYCHA management. However, what you've heard today reflects on the lack of knowledge that exists among us and the quest to eat away at that lack of knowledge. And using the t-shirt common T-shirt, not Calvin Klein, not Hilfiger, not any of those other characters who benefit from our desire to be status symbols, but from his own unique, liberating, choosing his words well, and having a penetrating effect on the minds and hearts of the people who see these T-shirts around New York and also in London, England. I want to thank you very much for joining us, and may God continue to bless you and bless us with his favor, that we may continue the work of resurrecting the minds of our people. This has been the Wisdom Table.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
For the people who would condemn in slavery time their brothers and sisters for being ignorant. Listen to the story the drums tell. They say, you black men should love those brothers and sisters even in death, because their valiant struggle for life made you what you are today. So keep on growing for them, in mind, in body, and in soul.
The seed is planted in a big uncultured land, planted by a black uncultured man. No one gave much thought to the black seed. No one seemed to care about its needs.